Welcome back. We are on our second to last division preview for this 2022 NFL season. If you missed the other videos for the other divisions and you want to go back and watch them, please go ahead and do so. But today we have the NFC West. We'll talk about the standings last year, the DraftKings over-unders, what I expect, my win predictions for these teams, and all that good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Leave a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So last year's standings went like this. We had the Rams in first place at 12-5, the eventual Super Bowl champions. The Cardinals at 11-6. The Niners went 10-7, and the Seahawks, surprisingly, only had a 7-win season, of course. Russell Wilson's injury did not help that. But yeah, I mean, this is a great division. As we know, 3 teams made the playoffs here. This is one of the more talented divisions in football right now outside of Seattle. But we'll look at the DraftKings over-unders for this upcoming season, and they go like this. The Rams are projected 10.5 wins. San Francisco 49ers at 10. The Cardinals are at 8.5. And the Seattle Seahawks are down at 5.5 as their win total for 2022. So as we always do, we're going to go in reverse order. My fourth place team, with no surprise, is going to be the Seattle Seahawks, and this is a team that had 9+ wins every year from 2012 to 2020. Of course, the bottom fell out last year due to the Russell Wilson injury and some other things. Some other guys really did not play up to the level they were supposed to play at. I think Jamal Adams is one of those guys. Now, of course, in the offseason, they traded Russell Wilson. Kind of a surprise, kind of not really a surprise, because 2 off seasons ago now, Russell Wilson, was kind of talking about the offensive line, how it wasn't good enough, and there were definitely some rumors that Russell Wilson was kind of getting fed up there in Seattle. So they do trade him. They get back Shelby Harris, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, bunch of draft picks, and I'm sure these guys will help, especially Shelby and Fant. Those are good NFL players. Drew Lock was kind of just a throw-in guy, high upside quarterback. Let's just see what happens. But right now, it seems like Geno Smith has the upper hand on that job. They lost one of their best cornerbacks, and DJ Reed, he went to the Jets. They also lost Dwayne Brown, who just went to the Jets. Carlos Dunlap left, and Bobby Wagner, who's been there forever, probably the best linebacker in Seahawks history, is now gone with the Rams, a division rival. So this is a team that I think could be in the running for the first overall pick. You think of some of the worst teams in football. You think of the Texans. You think of Seattle. I think Chicago's definitely in there. So this could be one of those teams that's fighting for the first pick in this 2022 season. Now, there's the Kenneth Walker versus Rashad Penny debate going on. Kenneth Walker, though, just had an injury. I think it was like a core injury or a groin, something like that. He's having some type of minor surgery, so Rashad Penny definitely has the upper hand right now. Penny went off the last month of last season, so we'll see what he can do in the backfield for them. And they still have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I think Lockett could be a guy that if this team really comes out the gates terribly, Tyler Lockett could be traded for some draft compensation at the deadline. We'll see. So having 3 weapons of Fant, Metcalf, and Lockett, that's not too bad, honestly. If they had a better quarterback, I'd feel much better about this team. They have a rookie left tackle in Charles Cross. I thought out of the big 3 tackles this year, which was Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, and Charles Cross, it seemed like Charles Cross was the least NFL ready, but I'm sure he will be thrown in there right away because he was like a top 10 pick. I don't know if he'll be good right away, but that's definitely a concern going from a good veteran like Dwayne Brown to a rookie at left tackle. So we'll see how that goes. And honestly, I just can't see this team being that good. I don't mean to be a downer about it, but last season this defense did not look right. They gave up a lot of yards, not a lot of points. They gave up a ton of yards, not a lot of points. It was kind of weird how that worked, but this Seahawks team is not as talented as it once was, and going from a guy who, Russell Wilson is a top 7 quarterback at worst, going from that to the likes of Geno Smith in his early 30s and then Drew Lock, who is a turnover machine, you don't want to see that. So I have concerns about this team, and I think Seattle might be a 5-win team, maybe even worse in 2022. My third place team is going to be the Arizona Cardinals, who I have at 8-9. Last year they started out 7-0, looked like one of the better teams in football. And they had that terrible loss on a Thursday night game when Devontae Adams was out for the Packers. I don't know how they lost it. It was a home game too. But they started out 10-2 last year, and then they fell to 11-6. So they lost 4 of their last 5 games. Definitely, they were inconsistent. We saw Kyler Murray out for a few weeks, saw Colt McCoy in there for a while. And that just seems to be the constant narrative around the Cardinals, is that Kyler Murray starts out the first month, month and a half, 2 months, looking like the clear-cut MVP of the NFL, and then Kyler Murray sustains this minor injury, and then he stops running the ball, and the Cardinals offense kind of falls off. That has happened 2 years in a row now. Of course, 2020, Kyler started out great, and he was looking like the MVP, and then he had an injury to the shoulder, I believe it was, and then he kind of fell off in the second half, and the same thing happened last year. I forget what the injury was, but yes, Kyler Murray has to be healthy for 17 games. You can't see a half-season healthy Kyler Murray anymore. He has to be more durable throughout the entire season. I know it's tough at that size, but still, he signed the big contract. They need to get that from him. They got out in the wild card last year. They got beat down by the Rams, so of course the Rams went on to win the whole thing, but that was an ugly loss. So in the offseason, they got Marquise Brown, wide receiver from the Ravens. They got Will Hernandez at guard from my Giants. Will Hernandez definitely declined the past few years. That was disappointing for us, but you know, Will Hernandez definitely showed a lot of upside in his rookie year back in 2018. Now, they did lose some guys. They lost Chase Edmonds, the running back, linebacker Jordan Hicks, Chandler Jones went to the Raiders, as we know, and Christian Kirk went to Jacksonville. So that's a talented group of players right there. Chase Edmonds is a good receiving back, very electric. Jordan Hicks has been a consistent linebacker for a while for them. Chandler Jones at one point was one of the best edge rushers in football. He still could be that. And Christian Kirk, I mean, he definitely had his moments. He made some big plays for that Cardinals offense. So to miss out on those guys, it's going to hurt a bit. DeAndre Hopkins is out for the first 6 games. The PED suspension, that's going to hurt a lot. I mean, obviously he's one of the best receivers in football, so not having him for the first third of the season, basically, it's not ideal. Of course, their offense can stay afloat as long as Kyler is healthy and running the ball once again, but they still have James Conner, Zach Ertz is back, they have Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore in year 2, so yeah, they have enough weapons, and Cliff Kingsbury is a pretty creative play caller, so like they should be fine, but missing out on Hopkins the first month and a half, it's just not what you want. And guys like J.J. Watt and James Conner, can they stay healthy? Like, we don't really see those guys stay healthy that much. J.J. Watt missed time last year. I remember James Conner missed a couple weeks last year. He cost me a fantasy championship in one of my leagues. But yeah, I mean, those guys have to be on the field, of course, and that all comes down to Kyler Murray and his health. If you told me right now, hey, Mike, Kyler Murray's going to stay healthy for all 17 games and be great, then I'd probably put them at like 10 or 11 wins. But I just don't know if I can trust this team and Kyler specifically to stay healthy for an entire season, so I have them at 8 and 9. My second place team will be the Los Angeles Rams, who I have at 10 and 7, last year's Super Bowl champions. Now, they lost some guys from last year. They definitely lost a good amount of talent on this team. I have the list in front of me here. They lost a lot of guys. Von Miller, Darius Williams, a cornerback, Sebastian Joseph Day, the nose tackle, Austin Corbett, the guard. You had Johnny Hecker go to the Panthers. You had Robert Woods go to the Titans, and Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle, retired. That's like 7 guys right there that were key contributors to this team last year. I know Woods tore his ACL, whatever. They replaced him with Odell Beckham. Now he's gone as well. I guess Odell could technically come back to this team. He's still a free agent, but they did get Allen Robinson, so I have no idea. But speaking of Allen Robinson, they added him from the Bears. He's still young. He's like 28 years old. It kind of seemed like Robinson was a bit checked out last year. He just did not have a good year whatsoever, but I still think he's talented. He should have a decent year, of course, with Matthew Stafford. I don't see why not. And they got Bobby Wagner, as I mentioned. Bobby Wagner, I think, is still one of the top 10 linebackers in football. I know he's like in his early 30s now, but he still plays at such a high level. He's been very durable throughout his career, so hopefully for the Rams he stays on the field and plays at a high level. Now, Matthew Stafford's health is something that, it's not like the Kyler Murray level of concern, but it's still a concern for me because going back to Matthew Stafford's days in Detroit, he had some serious back issues. I think he had back surgery one of those seasons. He missed like half the year. The season before that, he also had back issues. So the back issues on top of this elbow injury he had in the preseason that he's kind of going through now, it's not what you want to hear, of course, for a guy in his mid-30s now at quarterback. I think Matthew Stafford's a tremendous talent. I'm very happy he won a Super Bowl last year and kind of proved to people that he's a lot better than they thought he was. But yeah, Matthew Stafford's injury history, it's a little concerning, I will say, but hopefully he's out there. He's a very tough guy. Like, he will definitely gut it out most times, but yeah, Stafford's injury history has me a bit concerned. So they're a top-heavy team. We know the Rams, how there's that like belief that there's no salary cap because the Rams get whoever the hell they want, but they do pay for that in a way because their depth is not that great. Like, if some of their main guys go down, like Jalen Ramsey or Cooper Kupp or Aaron Donald, this Rams team's going to definitely miss those guys a lot, obviously. But their depth is definitely not what you want for a championship contending team. I think Rams fans know that. It's been that way for a while. If those top guys get hurt, they might be in trouble. But guys like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson and I think Cooper Kupp, you know, I know those guys had injuries, the receivers. I know Kupp tore his ACL once, and I think Robinson tore his ACL like 5 years ago. But still, for the most part, those guys are consistently on the field. So I wouldn't be that concerned, but like still, you never know. And if the Rams didn't have a crappy October last year, I think they went 1-3 that month, or maybe 0-4. If they didn't have that crappy month, this team probably would have had a bye in the first round. They would have been just looked at as a way more dominant team. They were looked at as a team that was good, but definitely not as good as the public perceived them to be, because they had that horrible stretch in October when they couldn't block and they, you know, had Matthew Stafford throwing interceptions. So that sucked, but they definitely got their you-know-what together, and they, you know, got much better for the playoffs. This team does have Cam Akers back full-time at running back. He made that miraculous recovery from the Achilles injury. Very talented guy. He was not very good when he came back, I will say, but to come back from an Achilles injury that quickly, it was like 6 months or something, is unheard of, so definitely congrats to Cam Akers there. But he's a guy that, coming out of Florida State, I liked him a lot. Hopefully he's back healthy for that team. And the pass rushing is a question now for this team. Yes, you have Aaron Donald, as good as ever. Leonard Floyd is fine, as we know, but who's the third guy? I feel like teams need at least 3 guys to step up and be good pass rushers. Who's that third guy that can step up for this team? I like Terrell Lewis. Terrell Lewis, coming out of Alabama, definitely had his question marks. He was taken in, what, round 2, round 3 a couple years ago. He's had some moments for them, but he might be asked to step up more this year with the departure of Von Miller. So they got better in the linebacking unit, but they did lose a pass rusher in Von Miller, so that sucks. But anyway, this Rams team, of course, has the talent to be a 1 seed. I can definitely see it happening, but I do happen to like another team in this division a bit more. My first place team is going to be the San Francisco 49ers, who I have at 11-6. They were very close to making the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. Of course, they had that really bad injury luck in 2020, but this has been a good team now for 3 years. They have moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo, we think. He's still on the roster. He might get released, might get traded. I have no idea. I'd kind of be surprised if he was on the roster week 1, but who the hell knows. But Trey Lance now is the quarterback for this team. The coaching staff has said that, but that's very exciting. Trey Lance has some of the highest upside in the NFL in terms of like at the quarterback position. He has so many great tools, a strong arm, a physical runner, can make plays on the run, he can throw on the run, he has great velocity on his ball. Like, sure, there are some moments where he might miss a guy high and sell it over his head for an interception, but if he fixes that stuff, I mean, my goodness, Trey Lance can be one of the best quarterbacks in football, and that's why the Niners took by number 3 overall. They added Charvarius Ward from the Chiefs, a cornerback for them. He's a good player, so they definitely added to that cornerback room. Jason Verrett coming back from the ACL injury. I cannot believe he tore his ACL again last year. Like, I forgot he tore his ACL, but Verrett's had so many freaking injuries in his career. I feel bad for the guy, but I definitely give him a lot of credit for coming back. They added edge rusher Drake Jackson out of USC. I did not do a ton of draft research this year. I was more of like a, type the guy's name in and put highlights after it. I didn't do much draft research, but when I watched Drake Jackson's highlights, I liked him a lot. He's a bit of a lankier guy, but has a lot of quickness, bend. That's what you want in like a modern day pass rusher. He might not bulldoze people, he might not bull rush, but still, like, I think Drake Jackson definitely has high upside as a pass rusher in the NFL. Their offensive line's a bit sketchy on the interior. They lost their one offensive lineman, Laken Tomlinson. He went to the Jets, as we know. But, yeah, they still have really good tackles. Trent Williams, Mike McGlinchey. Trent Williams was amazing last year. McGlinchey is fine at right tackle. But, yeah, their interior guys have to be good, as we know. Javon Kinlaw has to step up. That's a guy who I believe they traded up for back in the draft in 2020. I think they traded up like 1 or 2 picks with the Buccaneers. But that's a guy that has to step up. I mean, Javon Kinlaw, I was a big fan of his coming out. I've been disappointed so far. I think he is as well. I saw that one crazy interview this offseason where some 49ers beat reporter got in like an argument with him, so that was pretty funny. But yes, his on-field play has to be better, Javon Kinlaw. They still have good weapons offensively. Deebo Samuel got, a contract extension. George Kittle's still here. Brandon Ayuk. Elijah Mitchell at running back. Maybe Trey Sermon comes back. We'll see. I know Mitchell has an injury right now. I think it's a hamstring issue, so we'll see if he's ready for week 1. But I'm definitely excited for Trey Lance. That's why I put this team so high. I think the 49ers' floor offensively is so safe with Trey Lance at quarterback, because a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to run for a lot of yards. We know that. But Trey Lance can be like a bad passer. He can be like what Jalen Hurts was last year. Not to say Jalen Hurts is the worst passer in the world, but he wasn't that good. I think Eagles fans will admit that. And Trey Lance can be the same way. Trey Lance can be a below average passer of the football, but they can still have a very good offense because of his rushing ability. We know Kyle Shanahan. It doesn't matter if his running back is Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, JaMychal Hasty, Tevin Coleman, the Jeff Wilson dude. It doesn't matter. They always run the ball well, this team. And adding a dual threat quarterback like Trey Lance, who I think might have like 600, 700 rushing yards this year, it's going to make this offense even more deadly. So if things do go right for Lance and he fixes his passing accuracy, I mean, this guy can have like I don't want to compare him to this guy, but he can have like a Patrick Mahomes type of breakout. Like when Mahomes had his second year in the NFL and he was made the starter right after Alex Smith, he broke out in week 1 that game versus the Chargers, and people were like, whoa, this Patrick Mahomes guy is pretty good. And I think Trey Lance might have a similar type of rise. Like I know Lance had a few starts last year. He showed some positive signs and some signs that he was still rookie and had to get more accurate. But if he fixed that stuff, I mean, Trey Lance, I mean, the sky is the limit, literally. So Kyle Shanahan always has a great offense. They're well coached. I feel good about this team. It seems like the Niners do always face a lot of injuries, so hopefully that's not the case this year. Deebo Samuel stayed healthy for the most part last year. He hasn't been able to do that in the past, but hopefully those guys are fine. George Kittle as well has to be healthy. So anyway, that's going to do it. We'll go down it one more time. I have the 49ers in first at 11-6. I had the Rams in second, 10-7. The Cardinals at 8-9 in third place, and the Seahawks at 5-11 in last place. So let me know in the comments, what do you think the standings will be? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We have the AFC West next time, the final division preview, and I'll talk to you guys next time.